today, we will have our revision. So in line with that, so we want to start quickly on the revision, which I think will not take our time, because I will first of all run through all we have done and try to tell you some areas that you need to emphasize while you are preparing for your exam. So as a result of that, I will also give you time to ask questions, to make comments and their contribution. So we started with the overview of the course, where we emphasize the importance or the need for us to have adequate competence while practicing as a professional, because this will create a basis for high quality service delivery, and your service users will be your service users being at the receiving end will benefit more when the service provider is competent. When we are competent, we tend to deliver a good service. Again, every profession has its or our own competency attached to it. So if one is not competent in any profession you profess, it's going to have a very negative impact on the outcome of your intervention in any area. So people will want to associate with a competent professional, even if someone is just an artisan. Look at the fashion designer. If a fashion designer is not competent, he is or if the fashion designer is not that competent in what he or she does, little by little, he or she will lose customers.
Close that door.
Please, Oluwakemi, can you please mute your mic? Thank you. So, and in this regard, we also mentioned the need for us to possess adequate knowledge of what we profess, as well as the skill. It is also important that we must also build relationship, and when relationship is built, that will give you the opportunity to showcase your competence. Because as social workers, you need to build a very good relationship, and that takes us to rapport building, because in that one, you should get your clients along with you while you are intervening in his or her matter. And it's also a crucial starting point for people to get help from you, and so on and so forth. We also dwell into what social work is as design, and we got to know that the social work profession is committed to maximizing the well-being of individuals and society. When an individual is okay, then the society will be better for it. And you know, the family is a microscopic system of units of any society. And as a result of that, when such a unit is well, the society at large will be at the receiving end will also be better. So we consider an individual's societal well-being, that well-being should be strengthened because of the competencies that the social workers possess. And in this regard, we talk about the principle of social justice, respect for human dignity and human rights, right to freedom from intimidation and exclusion. We talk about the purpose of social work, which I briefly explained, which is just to maximize the well-being of an individual and that of the society. Because when an individual well-being is promoted, the community at large will be better, and all this cannot happen without guidance from the social workers. every environment that we have, the social worker will be in the best position to ensure that every individual, every inhabitant of that community or that or members of that society is well and is doing well and is living a satisfying way of life. And we also look at the social work purpose can also be realized through pursuit of social and economic justice, the prevention of conditions that limit human rights, the elimination of poverty, the enhancement of the quality of life for all persons, with a commitment to respect the dignity and worth of all people and the profession's pursuit for social justice. What then are the duties of social workers? We went on to list them as respecting the right to self-determination. You should believe in the fact that an individual has the potential to also determine his or her own destiny. He has that potential to also make his or her life better. That should be at the back of our mind. It's not that that potential is not there. It's only looking for somebody that will make the potential that will create a conducive environment for that potential to come out and for that potential to be used or to be utilized very well. So everybody, every individual has that right to self-determine whatever he wants to do. Modupe Kasumu, can you please mute your mic? You're disturbing the class, please.
I'm sorry, sir.
All right. So we also look at the duty of social workers at promoting the right to participation, that every individual has that right to participate in whatever concerns them. They are not to be passive, they also need to participate. In this client as a co-participant in any program or in any intervention that concerns them. So, and that gives us that participatory approach into what the social workers do. In that regard, the service user will see it as his or her own thing, not the thing that is being brought by the service provider, in this case, the social worker. So looking at that, it enhances really what we call sustainable development. So whatever intervention you bring in, that one will be sustainable because the service user will have seen it as his own, will have seen it as his own strategy to solving a problem, not somebody else's strategy. Then treating each other as a whole. An individual is unique. You should treat such an individual like that. No two individuals are the same. So you treat that individual uniquely. In that sense, you look at what affects him as a person. You don't treat a part of what affects him in isolation. You treat it in conjunction or in relation with other aspects of his life. So you treat him as a whole person. You use holistic approach to attend to your clients. Then identifying and developing strengths. You try to identify the strengths that you have in your service users. Don't emphasize on the weaknesses. Look out for the strengths and try to let the strengths come out. Let you maximize the use of that strength so that you can use that one to tackle whatever weakness or weaknesses such a person has. So when you identify that, it will be convenient for you to know the opportunities that are banned for such an individual or service user. Then you also the negative discrimination in the society, you can challenge that as part of your duty because you have that responsibility to challenge any discrimination. In social work, you don't discriminate. any form of discrimination against person, you discourage it. You don't allow it. You try to prevent such a discrimination. You remember many conventions on this, especially the CEDAW, the Convention on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. There was that convention in the 90s, promoted by the United Nations, which actually put up many strategies to challenge any discrimination against women. Now it's discrimination against persons now, not just women. Any form of discrimination against human beings should be avoided in any way. So it's part of the work of the social worker. And recognizing diversity, like I said, every individual is different, every individual is unique. You should recognize diversity. And when you recognize diversity of people, you recognize diversity in culture, diversity in religion, diversity in status, diversity in position, diversity in intelligence and in the personality. When you recognize that, it means you are giving such a person respect. You are giving him regard. That is what we call regard in the real sense of it. As a social worker, you should recognize diversity very well. Distributing resources equitably. We know that resources are not evenly distributed. You as social worker should look for a way of 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 giving justice prominence by making sure that resources are distributed equitably, not equally this time around. Equitably, that is, you give what is due to everybody according to their characteristics, according to their needs, or what will give them their own satisfaction of life. Then we talk about challenging unjust policies and practices. I think we'll dwell more on this. Unjust policies, that are procedures that you use to challenge the unjust policies. If policies are just unjust and they are practices that cannot promote the well-being of human beings,
Yes.
you are in the position to challenge us.
What
That
did you now? Shebi, I asked him, the day you did the last service at Ibayela Atiri.
Kosoko, please mute your mic, please. Can you please mute your mic? So, working in solidarity, you can't work alone. You work in solidarity with all the stakeholders. Work in solidarity with your fellow social worker, with your colleagues. You have that obligation to challenge conditions that contribute to social exclusion. That is, social inclusion is key here. You avoid stigmatization. You work towards having an inclusive society, like I said, and this will also promote human rights and will remove so many prejudicial attitudes of people or of any stakeholder that will be involved in any program or any intervention you try to introduce or you try to bring in as a professional. Why do we need social competencies? Why are they important? Well, of course, you must have seen, we have said a lot about that. They support ethical decision making, promote excellent practice, and so on and so forth. Then, what are the core competencies? One, demonstrate ethical and professional behavior. We discussed about that. What are the ethics that are embedded in this profession? You need to get yourself acquainted with this so that when you exhibit certain behavior, people will see it in you and say, really, you are a professional. A professional that will always engage in critical thinking, a professional that will think about the ethics of that profession, that will not behave anyhow. The professional that will be careful, that will be wary of the standards of his or her profession, that will look at all those ethical standards that are set by that profession. such a professional will be seen to be so competent. Such a professional is conversant with relevant laws and regulations about his or her profession. It's not going to be a profession that will say, "Me, I don't know." You will see that that professional is not competent. When you don't know the standard, for instance, let's talk about dress code. If you are a professional, you are a social worker, a professional social worker, you are not a quack, and the way your dressing code or your dressing does not portray you or is not modest, your dressing is not decent, and you say you are a professional, and perhaps you are a woman or you are a lady, you dress indecently and you want to cancel, or you have your client as a young lady in her 20s or in or a teenager, and you want to talk to her or you want to engage her as your service user or as your client, and you will also know ab initio that what you want to get into will never give you any useful result, because already you have overlooked, or you are not bothered about the dressing ethic of the profession. Maybe your indecent dress will definitely tell your client in this regard, uh, 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 in quotes now, a useful information about yourself. So you are telling the lady to also look at you as a model. Don't forget you are a model. So in that regard, you think, well, whenever you want to do anything, does the ethics of this profession allow this? So in that regard, you must understand very well what are the laws, what are the regulations that are guiding the operation of this profession. So you need to have that. That is competence one. You read about that. Competence two, engage diversity and difference in practice. Like I explained the other time, as a social worker, you recognize it is part of your duty to recognize diversity and difference. You should engage diversity and difference in practice. You should understand how diversity and difference characterize and shape human experience. And these are critical to the formation of identity. So all these, you need to understand them as a professional. And that will also let us know that actually you have the right competence. Then you should also be a vanguard of one of the competencies that you need to have is being an advocate of human rights, social, economic, and environmental justice. I mentioned it briefly the other time. You should be an advocate for that. When you are an advocate for justice, that tells more about you. Wherever you are, you must promote human rights. Perhaps in your workplace, you are that person that always trample upon the rights of other workers or upon the rights of other employees. You are such a person that will not even respect other co-workers. You do not care about their social and their economic well-being. You are such a person that will throw caution into the wind when it comes to matters of justice. If you are not just at all in your workplace, even if you don't have any service user with you, or you don't have your clients with you or around you, you are attending to, at all times, you should promote human rights. Whatever you do, wherever you are, even at home, in your neighborhood, in your community, in the groups, in your clubs, in the society you belong, even if it is cooperative society, if it is community development association in your area, do you promote justice? Do you promote human rights? Do you respect the right of others? These are competencies that are necessary. So when people describe you, all this will be attached to your description in any way. People will see you rightly that, oh, that actually, really, this man or this woman is a professional social worker because his or our behavior in our community depicts all the qualities, all the competencies that are to be found in any professional social worker. It depends on the way you exhibit this. Then 4, engage in practice-informed research and research-informed practice. Now you are also engaged in seminar presentation, which is a prelude, to writing project or conducting a kind of research. You should be interested in that. It's a competence that you must possess. When research are conducted, the findings are used to bridge some gaps. The findings are used to solve some problems. Later, before any intervention, you should conduct a kind of research to enable you understand the problem very well, to enable you understand the situation before you bring in your intervention. Otherwise, your intervention will be useless. Then, policy practice. Then there we talk about formulation of policy. You should understand what are the policies that surround your practice. You should understand those policies that are necessary, that are relevant to your practice. I mentioned a number of policy. Adirunke, please mute your mic. Adirunke, can you please mute your mic? So you engage in policy practice. When the policy are formulated, you should know those policies that concern your own field, the policy that concern your own profession. You should have interest in them and you should engage. When you hear that they want to formulate maybe a particular social policy that you know can affect the social life or social well-being of people, you should be interested in joining them for you to understand what it means. If it is important that you should challenge that policy, it is during the process or the cycle of formulation of that policy that you should be able to challenge that as well. And you should identify the existing policies, social policies that you know has implication, or the social policy that you know have implication on your practice or on your profession. You should identify that. Like I mentioned to you the other time, that we have so many policies that have implication for our practice. And one of such is the National Gender Policy, Youth Development Policy. This policy, National Social Protection Policy, in fact, this is a comprehensive policy that talks about social welfare programs that are being implemented by the government at present. And I told you, you should acquaint yourself with the details of that particular policy. If you have not, please kindly get one and read through and look at the areas that are very relevant to our discourse here. So when you have that, you should be able to assess such policy and see where we have the lacuna in the policy and where you can also make your own contribution, maybe as an individual or as a group of people that can do that. Then you should, one other competence is competencies, engage with individuals, families, group, organization, and community. That particular procedure you follow, the individual to family, groups, organizations, and communities at large. You see, that is, those are our stakeholders, those are the people that are target audience. Then you need to assess individuals, family as well. You engage with them first, then you assess them to know where they are. How do you now intervene? How do you bring in what you want to give them? That is, how do you now solve their problems? there must be a problematic situation. When such arises, that is when you think of intervening in their matter or in their case. You first engage with them, you assess them. That is the assessment of their needs. You assess them for you to understand that this is exactly what they need. You will not assume their need for them, but you're going to address their first need, not your own need, not the one you assume for them. That will not work. So as a competent professional, you should be able to assess, you should be able to engage, you should be able to identify, and then bring in your intervention that will work, not the intervention that will somersault after your exit, or not the intervention that is not sustainable. Then you also evaluate. Of course, we know the difference between assessment and evaluation. Evaluation is overall assessment of all you have done, the holistic assessment or an examination, or the holistic check on all you have done from day one, of all your intervention. Perhaps you have a project for them that will last maybe 1 year or 6 months. That's the project. You want to now assess the whole project from one to the last one. But when you come to assessment, you want to assess every stage. You want to try to examine or to review every stage of that project. Instead of having a complete assessment from month one to the last month, but in this case, you want to examine what you have done. You want to know, you want to review the progress, the performance at every stage of the implementation of that intervention. But when it comes to overall, that is where the evaluation comes in. In that regard, you have the feedback, you evaluate everything, which means all you have assessed, you bring them together and you try to reassess everything and come up with your recommendation, or you come up with the performance, whether that project has succeeded or not. It is important that every every intervention or every project has a phase that is called evaluation. And when you have the that has monitoring and evaluation, because the monitoring is important, the monitoring is the assessment at every stage. The evaluation is the overall assessment of what you have done. This competence should also be in you as a professional. You should have that skill. You should have that tool to evaluate that practice that that has to do with the intervention you have. So, and I think that about the competencies. Then we move to rapport building, and that is getting on well with another person or group of person by having things in common. We discuss a lot when we talk about enhanced communication, trust and cooperation, improved relationship, and so on and so forth, up to all the benefit that will take, as well as the techniques. Where I talk about the importance of effective communication. Importance of effective communication. We will also touch the area of verbal and non-verbal communication, how important they are. The aspect of active listening is a good technique for you to build rapport, respect, regard, and so on. Then you establish a common ground. So empathy, as well as adapt communication style that you know can work. Then we also went to confidentiality, which we discussed last, where we talk about legal ethical consideration and confidentiality, up to the last point, where we will talk about importance of confidentiality, the confidentiality best practices. Then we'll move to advocacy, where we discuss how best you can have a good advocacy and what are those questions that are possible under advocacy. Your answer to those questions will let us know whether you have an effective advocacy or not. Then what are the purposes and how you can build your advocacy strategy, how you can communicate your message, what are the stakeholders, what are the techniques that are involved, And what are the roadblocks to the advocacy? What are the challenges that you're likely to face in advocacy, or the barriers that you're likely to get into in advocacy, and how best you can cross the hurdles of that barrier or the hurdles in the advocacy system. Emotional resilience was the last topic we'll discuss together, and which has to do with social support, control of self, sense of humor, self-belief, emotional awareness, ability to solve problems. How do you have, what are the benefits of emotional resilience? Do you have that coping ability, the coping ability when your emotion, the emotion is likely to be unstable? How do you cope with it? This will enable you to have better coping with stress, and increase problem-solving skill, enhance adaptability, and so on and so forth. When you have emotional resilience, and others do have, so how do you know what are the differences? What is the difference between the person that possesses emotional resilience and that one that has no? So we talk about self-belief, purposefulness, adaptability, social support, and so on and so forth, and the strategies to develop emotional resilience. We discuss this. Then how do you now ensure quality service delivery in social work? We'll discuss continual professional development, that learning is long life, and is not limited. That is why some people describe education as the experiences you acquire from cradle until you are no more, until the day one dies. That is what you have, what you acquire. Then we'll also mention supervision and consultation, use of evidence-based, and so on and so forth. And that brought us to the end of that lecture. So this is just a brief of what
Bring it.
yes, I wouldn't know if you have questions, you have comments, you have observations. You can please let me know so that we'll discuss it in few minutes. I told you the maximum time we have here is not much, so I want us to stop by 10:45 or at most 10:50. So if you have questions, you have contribution, please can you unmute and speak out? If your mic is on, do you have anything to say? Thank you.
Good morning. I'm just joining now.
Okay, when we are finished. Thank you. It's all right. So question, though, let me just remind you that your exam, it will be in objectives, like I said the other time. So which means every detail is important, and you need to master them very well, because it's an objective. There is no opportunity for you to express yourself. If it is essay, when you beat around the bush, you come back to the main road, or you come back to the right path. So, yes, Ali Kafayat, your question, please, or your comment.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for the impactful of every one of us. I just want to plead that if we can have past questions to guide us, we'll appreciate it, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I will find out if that is possible. But if not, just be rest assured that I cannot go out of what we have discussed to test your ability. Just be rest assured about that. Acquaint yourself well with the material, with the course material sent to you. Just go through and ensure that you understand. And do not forget to also understand the ethical consideration or the ethics or the code of conduct as enshrined in our Charter Act. It means that you need to understand, you need to go through the Charter Act very well. Again, I mentioned a particular policy that is so comprehensive in addressing the social well-being of Nigerian citizens or residents, and that is National Social Protection Policy. Those two documents are very, very important. I think that the Chartered Act is on the platform. You can also go through, you understand much more about our code of conduct or our code of conduct, as well as the ethical consideration in the in social work practice. Again, the regulation of the institute or of the practice of social work as a profession, the regulations that have impact on them are also included in the act. Please feel free to go through that act and you understand more. Yeah, and perhaps you may also, as an important policy or important law that is a grand norm in this country is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I referred you to Chapter 2 of that Constitution, which has to do with the social well-being of the individual and all the rights we have also talked about. How do you understand that you have not trampled upon the right of others when you don't even know the fundamental human right as enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? So you need to also be conversant with that. You need to improve your knowledge about that chapter, which is a fundamental principle. It is on fundamental principles and directive policy of the government. It's in Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Please also endeavor to go through. So these are areas that are added, that will be added in my questions to what we have in the material. Anything other than that, it's not going to be taken. Yeah, somebody also raised his or her hand. I cannot see that hand again. Maybe it was raised in error, or perhaps I've addressed his concern. So any other question or comment? Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you for your question. Yes, Adefunmilola Asis. Adefunmilola Asis, please.
Hey, sorry, sir. That was a mistake. I didn't raise my hand.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Ifeoma, even though you are a late comer.
Yes, so I want to ask question. Yes, I'm late comer for today. My question
Yes.
is this: what of a network? We don't foresee that, we say God forbid. But in case of network goes off, how would one do it since it's an objective?
I don't pray the network will go off. I don't pray that will happen. So just find a suitable location where you know the network signal will be perfect.
Is this something you can do on phone, or you will use a laptop or desktop?
I think you should be able to do it on phone. But the IT people will clear that, will let us know, will give us the guidelines as the exam approaches. So don't worry, the IT unit will address that. But I know you should be able to do it on phone. And with respect to network, please find a suitable network. Find a suitable location where the network will be, the strength of the network will be effective.
So you are going up material. Thank you, sir.
You said material?
I say you are going outside your material. You said we should go read your notes. You are going outside your material now.
No. You know, listen, there's no way I can add consistent to this material. It will be too voluminous for you. You understand that? There's no way I can. You want to be a practitioner, isn't it? And
Yes.
you want to be a professional, a competent one for that matter. And
yes.
the rules or the laws or the regulations about this practice, and you are not conversant with it, how do you feel? It's not going to be a big thing, but just for you to have a glimpse of the important aspect of that material. In our law, in the institute law that established the institute, I only told you to look out for the conduct, the code of conduct in that act. And of course, it should be your own Bible as a professional. It should be your Bible as professional. It's not that you'll be asked, people will be asking you to quote law or to quote this, but you understand the laws that actually regulate your practice. If you don't understand that, what's the essence of how do you become competent? That is not possible. How do you become competent? Because it is important that when you do things, you understand what to do and you understand what not to do. Let me remind you. Do you know that chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that I asked you to go through? In that chapter 2, all the sections in that chapter 2, they are not justiciable. Justiciable meaning that you can't take government to court. You can't take anybody to court to account for not providing certain social welfare programs for the citizens or for his people. Well, you cannot do that. But you as a professional, you as the operator of the law, or you as social work professional, there are certain laws, there are certain rules that guide your operation. When there is a violation of any act, any part of that law, you are liable to be sued in court. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You are the practitioner. When you have a misconduct while you are practicing, you can be sued.
Okay.
You can be taken to law courts. But when government does not provide those services, you can't take government to court. You can see. So that is why you need to understand the law very well. So they are not much additional, just to add to your knowledge. And you appreciate this by the time you begin to practice. Because in law courts, they look at the laws. What are the laws? They look at those laws that actually empower you to do certain things. So you need to understand the laws that empower you to do something, to practice as a professional. So thank you. I can see Amma. Can you please ask your question? I can see your hand.
Okay, sir. Find the app we are going to use so that if the person doesn't have it on his or her phone, you can install it before the exam. Is it going to be Google form? Is it going to be?
All right. Thank you. The IT will address that. The IT people are also listening as I'm talking to you, so they will address all those concerns. Okay. And or how to attempt those questions, demo for you to write the exam. The IT usually provides demo. So when they provide that, you use that one to practice before the real exam. Adedoton, yes, thank you. Adedoton, please. Okay, your hand is lowered now. Aderonke, okay. No, okay, Aderonke, please. Unmute and speak out. Okay, maybe it's a mistake.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Oluwadare. Yes.
Yes, sir. Please, from my little understanding so far concerning this profession,
Yes, sir.
I perceive that it's somehow law-based,
All right.
and I want you to do us a favor. Just like the Chartered Institute of Taxation that I belong,
Okay.
there are a lot of laws in Nigeria and across other nations that affect professions. But if you can just do us this favor to post the relevant ones that we need as professionals, so that we begin to look at them, get materials on them, so that we will not be jack of all trade and master of none.
Oh, all right, sir. All right, sir. Okay, thank you so much. It means that how this will become handy to you, even after becoming member. You want to practice, you need to have them.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, no problem. Yes, sir. No problem.
Yes, sir.
We will avail you of that opportunity. No problem. This is noted, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes. Any other person? Any other person? Okay, while we are waiting for another person, quickly, let me, people have raised concern about going outside the course. Not really, but you need to know the law, like I explained. So on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as social worker, you should not have apathy towards reading. It's important, especially on laws, on regulations that affect you. On the Constitution of the Federal Republic, because if you have issues and it's not impossible, even while you are practicing, even those working with the government, they have had issues that they have to go to court. Some kind may even, or some people that who may not even go on well with you. Perhaps you charge a husband for domestic violence. You charge a husband for domestic violence against his wife. Do you think that husband will take you as friend? You as a social worker? The husband will take you for enemy. The husband will look at you as supporting his wife against him. So he may not take it lightly. He may say, no, you have gone beyond your boundary that you need to. You may want to seek redress in court. And when you get to court, the court will rely on laws. The court will rely on regulations. The court will rely on that power that you have to have done what you have done. When such happens, and you take the spouse to the family court, and the husband is given sentence, that husband may appeal. When he appeals, the instrument that will make use of, that will give you hedge over that person, is all these legal instruments we have talked about. Some of them, not all the legal instruments. So on the Constitution, I mentioned fundamental. That person should please allow us to finish now. Dokun Grace, please. Dokun Grace, can you please mute your mic? ABC is in the party. So this chapter 2 of the Constitution, chapter 2 of the Constitution talks about fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy. That's the title: Fundamental Objectives and Directive Principle of the State Policy. The section that concerns us is about section 14, subsection 2B, states that the security and welfare of the people sabi the primary purpose of government. Don't forget, we talk about the primary purpose of government sometimes. Look at that section. It says the security and welfare of the people sabi the primary purpose of government. What concerns us is that welfare. Even the security is part of it. We have social security as well. All other security, if the security is not there, there's no way you can provide welfare programs or welfare packages for people. So is the sabi, not even will be or is going to be, but this is an enforceable something that is so mandatory that sabi the primary purpose of government. As a citizen of Nigeria, as a social worker, you need to know this section now, because it is stated that the welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. When you are taking government up, when you are challenging some policies, these are things you can cite when you discuss with them. When you want to protest or you want to oppose certain policies, or you want to let government understand that the policy they are putting in place are policies that are not contributing to the well-being of their citizens. When you cite this, I know that government agent or that government official will understand what you are that you know what you are talking about, that you are a competent person for you to have known this, even though you are not a lawyer. But you need to know this is a general thing that you need to. That is why the Constitution is made for all of us. You have access to it. It's not meant for lawyer. It is when you go to court, you want to argue that you can just cite that. Then section 16 of the same chapter, section 16b and section 12d talk about suitable and adequate shelter, suitable and adequate food, reasonable national minimum living wage, old age care and pensions, and unemployment, sick benefit, and welfare of the disabled. Of all this, which one among them is not related to social well-being of the citizen? There's none. There's none. So you can also read about section 17b and up to section 17b, up to A, C, D, F, G, and H is all about social welfare. Just for you to know that it's not going to be a big deal, just for you to know. So, Mr. Amma, I can still see your hand up, or is it the whole hand? Is it the whole hand? All right, perhaps it's the whole hand. So, any other question? So, this is almost 11 minutes. So, I want to give you 3 more minutes of grace. So, by 11, we can conclude. Any other question or comments? Question, comments?
I want to ask a question, sir.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Some of these provisions about the welfare of the citizens, you say
Yes,
some
sir.
of them are not justiciable, which means when the government violates the rights of citizens in this regard, not providing the supposed welfare, nobody can sue the government. Now,
No.
in advocacy, is it possible for people to advocate or raise concerns or awareness against this type of clause that says no one can sue the government even when they have not done what they are supposed to do? Can people raise awareness? Can people speak against it?
Definitely. Definitely, we can speak against it. That's the essence of advocacy. We can speak against it. Anybody can speak against it. If you have been following these civil society groups, they have always been agitating for a change in this kind of clause. But let us think about it as well. If we speak against it, it's a good thing. But our advocacy should always call the attention of government to providing this, not just speak against it. And even if they remove it from the constitution and they put it elsewhere, what about all other policies that the government have formulated that the implementation has been a serious issue? What about them? We have so many policies. We have so many beautiful policies that are well formulated, but the implementation or enforcement has always been a bottleneck in this part of the world. It has always been that. But I want to encourage us, when we make advocacy, our advocacy should be more on providing this rather than condemning them. You can tell them, you call the attention of any government to that government, please look at this. While you are doing this, look at this and make sure that you are providing for that. I want to tell you, with all honesty, government is trying its best. But what I can see is most times continuity in implementing government policy is a problem in this country. One government will come, or one administration will come, we will not want to continue a particular program because of political consideration most times, or because of some sentiments, or because of some other interests that are not known to the general public. When such happens, it is the state that will bear the loss. The state get to lose when such happens. The policy somersault that we experience in this country is so enormous that will always retard our movement. It will